I think that when you create content, it forces you to look at yourself.
Just the ability to be able to turn it on and then like just say something good is a great quality to have.
What are like the days where everything's going wrong and you feel like you want to give up?
Ultimately, because you're a leader, everything is your fault, no matter what. There's freedom in that too. Because it is your fault, you can fix it next time.
I work with a lot of people like that are very successful offline, but they just don't know how to put that online. So I think the best place that you can start with figuring out your brand pillars, what to talk about, is
Welcome back to the Wealthy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Javi Chavez, COO of 5 7 to 8 figure businesses. So today, if you have any interest in branding, building your social media following, being authentic, and building your voice online, you're going to love this podcast. Today, I have one of our head strategists, Kate. I don't even know how to say your last name still.
Sybilrud.
Sybilrud,
Yeah.
see?
That's what we just go with.
But Kate, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, you've worn a couple hats within the company, but you've really found your spot in building out, again, people's personal brands, helping them flourish, and obviously using the things that you've learned here and also your own knowledge to be able to grow things. So in this age of social media, do you think that you have to be inauthentic to grow your personal brand? Because a lot of people think that they have to like put on a face or they have to, be something that they're not. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think the opposite of that. I think that you need to be authentic. Yeah, you can grow inauthentically, sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, we see that all the time, but I don't think that's sustainable.
Yeah, and so people think it's like self-centered or selfish, mm-hmm. or they're like, hey, like, look at me. How do you help people get around that fear or that thought when building out your personal brand?
That's one of my favorite things to talk about, actually, because we are conditioned to not celebrate ourselves. Mm-hmm. And because of what you just said, it's conceited or, oh, you're so full of yourself. But I would argue that we are supposed to celebrate ourselves, and it's not conceited. That's self-love. And if you are able to celebrate you and share it with others, then you're empowering them to do the same, and you can help and serve more people.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And if you help and serve more people, you're going to make more money anyway.
Right.
So I think that, which is, I think, beneficial for everybody. So if I'm brand new, I'm starting out, I have 0 followers. Mm-hmm. But I have a moderately successful business. Like, what should I do to start?
Yeah, so I work with a lot of people like that are very successful offline, mm-hmm. But they just don't know how to put that online. So I think the best place that you can start with really figuring out your brand pillars, what to talk about, is look at the people that you help already in mm-hmm. your current business. So like, what is unique about your approach to helping them? And then how can you share that in the simplest way online, like in bite-sized pieces? I think people try to share too much and it just like goes over people's mm-hmm. heads, right? Like it has to be like so simple. That's what I find is the most successful type of content, is just super simple and what you're actually doing day to day to help your clients.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people too. Like, obviously my personal brand could use some improvement, but what I've been trying to do is just document what I'm doing every day.
Yeah.
And then like whatever lesson that I told the sales team or mm-hmm. whatever thing that I thought of throughout the day that like I think would be valuable for other people, and then just sharing that. And it's done well for me.
I think that's perfect. Like, yeah. I think when I was doing sales calls, mm-hmm. When I first started, that was the best way to get content, because mm-hmm. you're hearing, their problems.
Yeah.
And so you just create content that speaks to that.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So how do I think of ideas for content?
Yeah. So I think number one is whatever the questions are that you get from your, ideal client or your clients, just turn that into content. Like, that's something that people want help with. So to me, that's like the most obvious starting point.
Mm-hmm. And so even before that, like, how do I know what type of content to be creating?
Let's identify like who's your ideal client.
So ideal client would be somebody who is, they're making at least, at minimum, probably 25 to like 50K a month.
Okay.
If not more.
Okay.
Ideally, it's more. I think people who have like the budget for this, they're going to need like 75 to 100K a month in revenue.
Okay.
That's where I can really help them, and then help them with their marketing, sales, and then of course ops. But if you don't have good offer, good marketing, good sales, then operations don't even matter.
What do you feel like is the number one challenge that they have?
I think it's just marketing their offer and being able to grow their business. Like they just don't have enough leads coming in, and then even the leads that they are coming in, they're not able to close effectively. So they need help with their sales team and stuff like that.
So is it first like really getting the right offer? Like, are you adjusting their offer?
I mean, I'll make tweaks. Like I'll be like, hey, we should fix X, Y, Z. But the majority of the people already have an offer and they're selling some of it. They just need to sell more.
So then you just help them with better content or with ads, or what's the approach?
I mean, well, predominantly, like if you just want to throw fire on it, you're going to run ads.
Okay.
So, building out your landing page, figuring out your ad funnel. And then a lot of the one-on-one clients that I have right now, they just need like 3 or 4 tweaks, and they're like, oh, okay, like this makes sense, and they can go run with it.
Okay. So yeah, I would look at that, and without getting too deep into it, I would be talking about those things. So the result that you're getting them after they work with you. So you could, create content around that. Like you're generating this much in sales every month, but yet you can't get to the next level. And
so my hook would be, hey, business owners, you're stuck at $25,000 a month, and it's probably because you're experiencing X, Y, Z. Here's how I can help.
Yeah, that would be one way, right? And then if you go deeper into what is really holding them back emotionally, then I would address those things too. Usually it's like a confidence issue, or I don't know.
But do you feel like that's more so for like the content side, or do you just feel like that's just all entrepreneurs in general?
That you need to address it?
Well, that like they're dealing with like the business challenges that they're encountering aren't necessarily just tactical things, that they're more so like mindset things.
I think everything starts from your mindset. Everything. So I think that there's always a root cause of the issue, and it all goes back to mindset.
Got it. So how do I fix my mindset first?
Well, first you got to figure out what is the belief that's holding you back. And that's hard to do. You really have to like unravel the layers. And a lot of times people don't know their limiting belief, right? So when you're creating content, this is another thing that I've learned is like, so you know what their problem is, right? But that's not necessarily what they think their problem is. So it's like, how do you create content that speaks to their perceived problem, not their actual problem?
That's good, actually. So elaborate on that. So what do you mean by like their perceived problem, and then how do we uncover their actual problem with content?
So like let's take content for instance. Like if you ask somebody, why don't you create content? Oh, well, it's because I don't know how to edit. Well, that's not really the reason, because there's so many things that you could use to edit. So it's not because you don't know how to edit, but that's your perceived problem. So I would create content about ways to edit content, right? And then they're going to like that because they think that they don't create because they don't know how to edit. And then once they get into the program, then that's when you would go deeper. But that would be one example.
I love that. That's great, because you're right. And this is the same thing in sales and with everything. Like people come in thinking that they have a certain type of problem, right? Like, so for example, some people come in thinking they need more leads for their business. And when in reality, it's like, well, even if I gave you all the leads, you wouldn't know what to do with them because like your sales suck.
Yeah.
So like you could probably get the same result with the same amount of leads if you just fix your sales process.
Right.
Or you just get better salespeople, or there's a lot of solutions to the problem, but it might not be the one that they come in for. So I think that's very beneficial.
Yeah, and I think it's that took me a little while to figure out myself. But well, actually, when I sat down with Macy from the Sales Girls, she talked to me a lot about that, and I was like, wow, that's so good. And everything starts with the belief system. So it's like once you really start unraveling, I think it's so interesting.
So now that I know what type of content to create, you actually talked about like different editing softwares. What are your favorite softwares to edit if you have no budget?
So I really love using Riverside to create content. Like, so for virtual podcasts, obviously it's a great platform to use, but you can also just record solo podcasts or just solo content of you and then edit it quickly within Riverside and post it. So it's super efficient. I think that a lot of times people need to just use whatever app they're on. So I'm mainly on Instagram as far as like my main platform. So just record content within there and use the features that they have. I don't think that
What if I want to post it on multiple platforms?
Well, that's a great question, and you can schedule it through, some different
softwares.
Yeah, but I don't do that.
Got it. So
I mean, you can.
Yeah, like I use CapCut for all my TikToks and like quick Instagram reels. I don't use Instagram editing at all.
I love Instagram editing. Sometimes I use CapCut, but not a lot.
You've spoken like a true millennial.
Why do you say that?
Because that's where well, millennials aren't old.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, but that's
I've embraced
millennials love Instagram, and so that's where they're going to do all their editing. But for me, I like CapCut. A lot of this, like I would edit in the TikTok app for a long time, but the problem is you get a watermark. But I think Opus AI is great for clips, and you can do a little bit of editing from there. It shaves down so much time. So I will take my coaching calls and I'll upload it to Opus, and I'll get like maybe 2 or 3 clips. Okay. And so that's been very helpful for me. And same thing though, like I've uploaded even these podcasts. So like I have my editor, and then I also sometimes will just throw the same recording into Opus and get like a few extra clips. Yeah, so I love that. I think that works.
So when you do your coaching calls, how are you recording it?
It's on Zoom.
So I would,
the Zoom quality is a little rough,
recommend you do your coaching calls in Riverside.
Why?
Because
I can't put all the people on Riverside.
Oh, because you're talking about the group coaching calls. Yeah, I'm talking about one-on-one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would consider that. And like the camera quality would be way better because the problem with Zoom is that like the Zoom camera quality kind of sucks. So.
It does. And if you did it in Riverside, the one-on-one, it would generate clips for you. And it would also give you a summary.
Riverside does AI generation now?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you were just cutting the clips yourself.
No, I mean, it will select the best clips. It'll give you a title. It'll even write you an entire summary of all of the like key points that you made. So I just was looking at one, and I have like 20 different things from a call that I did with Jesse on all the different topics that we discussed and the keywords.
That's good.
So that's like so efficient.
Yeah. Okay. So Riverside's the go-to.
Yeah. Okay. I think.
And what do you say to people who want to go, like they don't want to make content because they got to get a camera, they got to get lights, they got to get a studio? Yeah.
So, I mean, most people have an iPhone or an Android, whatever. They have good cameras on them. So there's really no excuse. You can film great content with your phone.
Got it.
That's what I say to that. I think that's another excuse.
When you're coaching people, what are the biggest issues that they run into? Like, what's the first thing you need to have them figure out?
Well, the first thing is they don't think they're interesting enough, is one. They don't like how they sound. They don't like how they look. And it's a lot of overcoming that.
Well, let's talk about that too, because a lot of people think that you have to be like good looking or you have to be, very well spoken, which I think you do kind of need to have good communication skills. But yeah, most people think you have to be good looking, you have to be well spoken. What do you say to those people who don't feel they are that way and want to create content?
So I don't think that you have to be good looking. I think that there are a lot of successful, ugly creators, you could say. I mean, it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
And that isn't all it takes. Like, you're attractive.
Oh, thank you.
You haven't like gone viral. So it doesn't.
I went viral on TikTok. But you're right.
That's because you were focused.
But you're right. My YouTube
focused.
has not gone viral yet. Maybe this will be the podcast.
Maybe this will be the one that
we're
going
to
viral.
Pop off. But shout out to you, 100 to 300 people that end up watching this. You're loyal, so I appreciate it.
But yeah, my point is you can't just be attractive.
Yeah, but so it's the content, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you package up valuable content but still make it like entertaining and consumable? Because I feel like that's a big challenge for people.
Yeah, and I think it takes time to like you get better the more you communicate, just like anything else. So truly, and I know this isn't like a great answer, but I almost think that people overthink the content and then they miss out on their greatness, right? Like what you were just saying, if you get off of a coaching call or you get off of whatever interaction you're having with someone throughout your day, and you're like, oh, they got value from that or that helped them. If you just turn around and create that, it's likely going to help someone else.
Exactly.
It's when you overthink it and you try to like put this whole thing together that really isn't you. Like you think it's authentic to you, but it's really not. And then it doesn't perform well. So I think it's you communicating with more real people every single day, doing what you do, and then just transferring that over.
Yeah. So don't overthink the video too much, is what you're saying.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, because what I see is that a lot of people in the beginning are overthinking and it holds them back. Like you need to just be taking more imperfect action to get the momentum, because every step you take, you learn something new. And even if it's not good, there is a takeaway from every video, right? And then you can just improve upon that. And then you can refine later.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think it's just about creating content. And people always look at the view count and it's like, how much do people pay to get in front of a room of 100 people, 200 people, 500 people? So like, I think there's a ton of value in, even if you're not creating content, you can still make money from your content as well without a big following.
Oh,
right?
totally.
Yeah, because like, and the other thing too is it's just confirmation. When you create content, and let's say you meet somebody at a networking event, you meet somebody and you give them your card or whatever, then they go look you up and then they have all this information about you right away.
Right.
And like one of the things I just did recently was I Googled my name and all my content came up.
Yeah.
Like I don't even have actually I just made a website.
Yeah.
But like, I don't have a website. I don't have all this stuff. But like if you type in Javi Chavez, and which is a very common.
You can find a lot of. Yeah,
you can find a lot of stuff. And it's a very common name. So I come up number one. Like the entire page is all, like the first page is all me, which is great. But it's because I've been putting out content. So the second somebody wants to go look me up, they're going to go see all that stuff. And it just is confirmation of that the person they're working with knows what they're talking about. So I think even just from that note, you should be creating content because it's going to make your regular efforts so much easier, right? So talk about your client that you have, Green Valley Window Tint, right? Tell me their story and like why you would think that a window tinting company wouldn't need to create content and what it's done for their business.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great question. So they had been thinking about, well, they were following Ryan for years and they saw the value in having a podcast. And so that was something that they wanted to start, but they were not consistent with their content creation, right, at that point. But they saw the value in podcasting, so they became clients of ours, right? And then we helped them launch their podcast. And it's been, I think, almost a year maybe now. And they have. Do you know the numbers now? I need an update on where they're at, but I want to say they like tripled their revenue. Or
So
crazy.
they at least doubled their revenue from last year.
They've
just from social media content. They haven't like now they do some one-on-one stuff with us, and so like they're getting help on the business side because they've grown so much. But it was strictly just from creating content.
And they have, I think, 5,000 followers maybe on Instagram. But yeah, they're consistent. They have not stopped. Like they launched the podcast and they, are launching episodes weekly.
Yeah, and so it's a lesson in consistency. And you don't need a big following to make a lot of money on social media.
No, and you don't even have to be perfect with your communication. I mean, they've improved over the last year with their interviewing style and how they are communicating, and they will continue to improve as we all do.
Perfect. So again, key takeaways there. You don't need a big following. You will get better with your videos and your communication style as you continue to keep on making content. And 3, I thought I lost the third one. Do you remember?
I don't know, but I didn't say this part. One thing about them is they made a commitment to their social media and the podcast, and they were like, we're doing this no matter what.
Yep.
And I think that's really important for any goal that you set.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're not going to stick with it.
Well, that and social media is the longest return on investment there is, because like unless you make one video and it pops off,
Yeah.
even if you do that, you might get a quick boost, but you still got to consistently keep on putting out content, and it's a grind. You have to keep on thinking of stuff, but it pays off huge if you just continue to commit to it and keep growing. So,
Yeah.
what strategies can you talk about that somebody can utilize to like create content on a busy schedule?
Yeah. So I think that more people need to be looking at their personal situation, because everyone's different with their resources and like time and everything, and create a realistic schedule and plan around content creation. So if you don't have a team, that's okay. You don't need one. Like we've mentioned a few different scenarios throughout the podcast already, but like if you're on calls coaching people, record yourself coaching people. Like then you have content. You know, it sounds so simple, but people miss so many opportunities to get content.
So what if I'm a busy business owner and like, what would you like, so I'm running a company. What would you recommend time-wise for me to be effective content-wise?
Well, again, I think that depends. So I would want to look at what you're doing throughout your day, and then I just want to capture the best moments that, I think that there would be for your brand.
Got it.
I don't know. If you're just going to create like raw content, which is also good, like showing up even just on stories. I mean, honestly, I'd say 10 minutes or less a day is sufficient to have like a presence and be relevant.
Perfect. Yes, that's what I was looking for. So 10 minutes. So 10 minutes a day.
Maybe even less.
Yeah. And I would agree with that to an extent. I think you can knock out a week's worth of content in 3 hours.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. And even if you do it all in one day, or you take, for me, it takes a little bit longer to make a TikTok, honestly, because like I'll edit it and do some stuff, but you can make it. What I've been trying to do more now too is just one take.
Yeah.
So I'll hop on TikTok and I'll just do like a 1 minute video, and it takes me like 2 or 3 tries to get the whole minute down.
Yeah.
But TikTok rewards like longer form content.
Right.
So I'll go for like a minute 30. And
so are you posting more on TikTok now?
Yeah.
I need to be on there more.
Yeah, you do. So I'm posting there just because I have a bigger following.
Yeah.
And I personally am more okay with putting out more raw content on TikTok.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like it's a better platform for it than Instagram is.
That's interesting. So you feel like you can't be as raw on Instagram?
Yeah, I feel like Instagram likes more produced content. Like I'll still talk.
I would argue. I think that the less produced content on Instagram is performing better.
Interesting. Like I'll try it. Like
In my experience, that's what I'm seeing.
I mean, I just know for a fact that the most produced content does not do good on TikTok.
Right.
So that is for sure something. So I'm taking the same exact video that I might get out of a podcast clip or a coaching call, and then I am redoing it for TikTok.
Okay.
So, and I'm making it more conversational.
Okay.
So that's more so what I'm doing. So it's not like I'm filming different stuff. It's just a different format of the content, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think, I mean, believe that the less produced content is going to perform better on all the platforms, in my opinion. Right now, I think that, and people talk about this too, how it's like a pendulum that, okay, it's going to be highly edited content like it was, right? Like a year ago.
Yeah.
And then it swings and then it's going to go. And then once everyone transitions to the raw stuff, then it's going to go back. Like, and it just is a constant change. But
baggy pants and skinny jeans.
I think that your TikTok content that I watched that was as a couple years old for when you were wholesaling, was really good because it was very like, I felt like I was in your office with you in learning how to wholesale, which is the whole point, right? You want people to feel connected to you.
Exactly. So I'm trying to figure out how to replicate that. The problem is the wholesale content is so much broader, in my opinion, than the business content is, which is fine because, again, I'm just okay getting less views because like the wholesale content's like, hey, if anybody who's trying to start a business, wants a side hustle, is interested in real estate, like think about how many real estate TV shows there are. Like real estate number one is super broad. Wholesaling, side hustle, stuff like that, broad. And TikTok is also a slightly younger demographic. Granted, that was 2020 when I was making that content. Now there's a wider demographic.
There's a lot more people on.
There's a lot more people on TikTok. So hopefully it doesn't get banned.
I know. Well, I doubt it. I think for you,
what would you coach me?
Your angle to me is more niche and more specialized, but I think you'll actually get more views if you do that.
What?
Instead of try to reach a broad audience.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like that's like I'm actually toying with the idea of making a new TikTok because a lot of those followers are all like
I was thinking about that too.
Side hustler, real estate interested people. Where now I'm talking a lot more about business and like hiring and recruiting and sales training. Some of my sales videos done okay, but like for the most part, I'm talking about different stuff. So I don't know if I want to make a new TikTok.
What do you, in your opinion, what do you feel like is performing the best?
Sales content, because again, it's more broad. I shouldn't be going back and forth like this. Hello.
I'm boring him.
No. So the sales content does the best because again, it's more broad and there's so many different industries for sales.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that performs better than if there's only so many managers and leaders that are watching TikTok videos. You know what I mean? So that's the challenge.
So I think that you just have to get more specific when you're talking about leadership.
Yeah.
Or, I honestly think you should talk more about offer creation. Because I feel like, because we'll work together with some clients, right? Like some of my one-on-ones then go to you for one-on-one help. And if I think of some of those clients, that's what they need you for, is really figuring out the offer and then like even how to structure your funnel. Yeah. Like how to set up your CRM. Like you could probably make some videos on like go high level or whatever. Like specific things.
I'm going to do that, actually.
Those would be great for YouTube, too.
Yeah, that's great, actually. I'm just going to, like, how to set up your first funnel. That's going to be my next video.
That's what, you get that question all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that would be, and I would make a YouTube video.
Yeah, and the thing is with funnels, too, is it's different based on kind of where you're at business-wise. And I've told you, too, for, like, your own program and stuff like that, when you're brand new, you want to take every single call. So, like...
Every sales call,
every lead. You want to touch every single lead. So you don't really need a big application. You don't need like all this extra stuff. It's literally like a 3-minute video of you talking about who you are, what you do, why you're credible, and then give them a form. And that's it.
So not a lot of resistance.
Yeah,
to,
literally just like, because like every person that visits your page is so valuable in that early stage where like, you don't need an application. I wouldn't put a calendar. Any friction that you have when you're first starting out, when you're like, call it under 25K a month, get rid of it. Like you want to talk to everybody. Then once you get a little bit bigger and now your marketing strategies might change, we'll take Justin, for example. He's running a weekly webinar and running traffic to it. You couldn't talk to every single person. right? So
Right.
now either you filter them out through a webinar, or let's say you're not doing the webinar. Now you're going to put more questions on the application. Now they might go to an appointment setter. Now you might put them in a low ticket community.
It's interesting that you say that because actually he was doing that before the webinar. He was taking sales calls.
Yeah.
And he had an appointment setter. But then once he implemented the webinar, like then it just changed.
Exactly, right?
game.
So, but you need money first.
Yeah.
To like do that. And obviously he's a successful entrepreneur, so he probably had some money that he could
Yeah.
throw into the business. But when you have no money coming in, you need to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Then once you get a little bit of capital and you have some more money to spend, or you're not as needy, now you can start doing webinars. And yeah, like you can just change the model more and you can leverage and make more money. So I think that's important. Also, again, looking at where you're at budget wise. Like if you have money to spend, like if you have $3,000 to $5,000 a month in ad spend, I wouldn't change what I just told you to do.
Well, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about spending money on ads and generating leads organically.
I think organic complements that paid and vice versa, right? So I think it's important to keep building your personal brand because, like we talked about, you still need, like if somebody clicks on the ad and then they go to your page, what are they going to see? If you have no good personal branding, then the ads are going to perform worse, right? So that's number one. Number two is paid's just going to be a lot faster. The quality might be a little bit lower. It depends on, again, if the other part too, with organic and paid, if you have a decent following or if you have had traffic to your website, now we can just retarget to those people. So we can run ads to people who have watched your videos, been to your website, and those are going to be the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So that's going to be great. So, and then also moving forward, if you get people to the website and then they click, and now they're going to get your ads on social media too. So retargeting is like, if you're not doing that, that's the lowest hanging fruit, number one.
So how could somebody do that with limited resources?
I mean, you can dedicate $25, $50 a day to retargeting.
Okay.
So you don't need a ton of capital. But again, you also do need traffic too to the websites. So I'd be looking at your metrics and see like, okay, how many visits am I already getting? And then that'll dictate how much money is worth spending.
And what would you recommend for building out your website?
Like in terms of platforms and sites, go high level is easy.
I don't feel like it's that easy.
Yeah, I mean, it just has everything else in the back end.
Unless you have like a template, or maybe I just am not in it enough.
Well, I mean, there are easier website builders out there, but the fact that it has a CRM on the back end
is nice. Yeah.
It's just all in one. It's, jack of all trades, master of none. Like that's what Go High Level is. It's just has everything, but it's like, it's all right.
It's all in one place.
But it's all in one place, so everything can communicate to each other.
Yeah.
You can build out good automations, all that type of stuff. People like ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is great.
What's the price difference with ClickFunnels and Go High Level?
It's like this,
is it
ClickFunnels
significant?
is a little cheaper. I mean, more expensive.
Oh, okay.
So ClickFunnels is like, I don't know, like $500 a month or something.
Oh, so that's pretty significant.
I mean, I think they have a cheaper
High Level,
version
like
too.
100 or something?
Yeah, I mean, depends if you buy a white label or not. But yeah, it's between
Okay.
it's like $100 to $300 a month.
Okay.
But you still got to buy a website hosting and all that crap too. But yeah, so I think like, and this is what I tell people all the time: the best CRM, the best landing page platform, whatever, is just the one you use. It doesn't make that much of a difference one way or the other. You just need somewhere that works, that can host it. Like if you look, our landing pages aren't super pretty.
Yeah.
But
they're simple and direct.
Exactly.
Which is
they work.
I would argue that's the best type of short form content.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple and direct. Everyone's overcomplicating it.
Yeah, it's just like make the stuff make something that's valuable, and then have a place for somebody to contact you.
Yeah.
That's it. And then I mean, once you become like a true digital marketer, and like, but this is like once you're at a certain level financially, $500K plus a month or higher, and you can start looking into upsells, order bumps, all this
Yeah.
other stuff like what we do, right? So when somebody comes in, they get a 7-day free trial of our softwares, of our $97 a month community. Then they get upsold. We have recordings for previous webinars. We have all this other stuff to help us offset our ad spend. So that way we get free leads in the door. But that's miles ahead of what most people need to be worried about.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about all that other stuff. Just try to just make revenue. Just get people in the door.
Right.
Is what I think.
No, I think that's good advice. I think you got to start. You just have to start with one thing and then move on. People do try to bite off more than they can
Yeah,
chew.
and I was telling you this earlier. So when this is turning into like an offer creation podcast versus a personal brand podcast, but it's fine. When you're building your offer, I always tell people start high ticket because in your following right now, if you've been putting out content, there's probably maybe like 2 or 3 people that would be willing to pay for whatever your high ticket offer is if you're doing coaching or even if you're doing anything, right? Like start high ticket first with the most expensive thing. And then you just move further down the funnel to the more cost-effective stuff.
Can you paint us a picture? Like, give us an example of, say, what the high ticket offer price would be
for a coach.
Yeah, for
Okay, sure.
just pretend it's like me.
Okay, so for you, so if I'm a personal branding coach or if I'm any type of coach, it would depend on my experience level. But if I'm first starting out, I'm gonna have a one-on-one offer.
Yeah.
For $5,000 to $30,000, depending on your audience, what you're selling, whatever. But for your time, one-on-one for 3 months, between $5,000 to $30,000. Might even be higher. For Ryan, he charges $100,000 for the year, right? Now, do that first, and what's included in there. I would probably do like 1 call a week, which even that is a lot because there's a lot of stuff to do. I mean, I would maybe even do like every other week. They're going to have any documents, any scripts, any courses that you've created. You're going to have access to all that. And then I would do like a kickoff call. So like a 1 to 3 hour call to like iron everything out, figure out their situation. And then that's it. Like you don't need to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
I don't think you need any done for you type stuff. You can do that, but you're limited in your scalability. But if you feel like you need that to like sweeten the deal, then yeah, throw it in, but I would charge more for it. So
do you think people undervalue themselves?
100%. Yeah.
So how would you coach somebody through that?
It comes back to what you talked about in the beginning with mindset, right? And also understanding like what your time is worth. And most people, like I remember there are times where like I sold something and they're like, okay. I'm like, shoot, I should have charged more.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a lot of people saying, okay, then you probably are undervaluing yourself and undervaluing the work that goes into it. Also, there's an element of like, hey, you only have so many people in your following that are willing to spend this money. You better maximize what you're doing. And also on the flip side, you better make sure it's valuable. And so, because then if it works, then you're going to get referrals and you're going to grow your business. So a good way to look at it is like whatever they're paying, you should 5x their business for like.
Okay.
So if you feel like, hey, if somebody spends, $10K with me, they should be getting $50K worth of value, basically, is a great way to look at it. Right. And if you feel like, it's out of whack one way or the other, then you can, do your numbers, but just don't undervalue yourself and like the knowledge that you have, I think is the key. Right. And if someone's willing to pay it, it means they have a big problem.
So,
and if people aren't willing to pay it, then either you don't have the track record or you need to solve bigger problems.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Yeah. Cause how do you like quantify a problem?
Well, with business coaching and just coaching in general, there is some sort of problem that they're trying to solve.
Sure.
Right. So we'll use personal branding for an example, right? Like why is somebody trying to create a personal brand? To make more money, to get more leads,
right,
et cetera. Right? So what's a lead worth?
More opportunities.
Yeah. So what's a lead worth to you? Okay. So let's say their product is, I don't know, we'll say it's $1,000.
Okay.
Right? So if my coaching's 10, over the coaching, I have to show you how to at least make 10 more new sales to cover the cost of what I taught you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's valuable? Like, do you think I can help you get 10 more sales? Then yes or no. And then, so that's how I would sell it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just think it's interesting. I've watched a lot of different videos on this of how to price your offer, right? What is the value?
Yeah.
And a lot of them talk about like, what's the end result? But it's not necessarily like, I mean, some go about it with that angle.
Yeah.
But then some take a different approach of like,
what's the other approach?
well, it just goes like more in depth with like, you know, their life and their transformation and, you know, all these things. It's not so like black and white.
Yeah, I mean, sure. There's a lot of extra value that goes into it, but like, I don't know. And then there's like this whole thing that you can talk about with different types of buyers and different types of people will resonate with different types of overcoming objections, and there's a lot of that. But at the end of the day, like I'm pretty black and white in the way like I operate.
Yeah.
And obviously like there's emotion involved in buying, but like at the end of the day, it's black and white. I'm going to give you a return on your money. And if you do business with me, I want my return and the value that I bring to be black and white. So like I ideally by the time you're done working with me, you're like, wow, okay, I did see an increase in my business. Wow, this did help me out. Like I can see all the things. So it is more black and white. And if I made them feel good along the way and they feel better, great. That's awesome too. But maybe just my thing, like the business coaching, I want it to be a lot more black and white.
Yeah. And I think that it's easier to do that. Like the thing about content creation, personal branding,
it's a long game and there's no guarantee of success.
There's no guarantee. But I do think that there is a return on that investment in so many other ways that people do not think about. So, okay, yeah, you can generate a lead, right? Close them and have money coming in to your business. Obviously, that's the obvious return. But what about you becoming a better communicator?
Yeah.
That's huge. What's the value of that? That's huge, right? What about you getting opportunities to be on other people's podcasts that then turn into, you know, something else? Like, what if you meet your boyfriend on the podcast?
Yeah, that's how you met your boyfriend on a podcast.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, that's good.
There's many different ways. You could get speaking engagements. You could get, all kinds of brand deals. Like, there's all these different things.
Yeah. So what's it like dating another entrepreneur?
It's great. This is the best relationship I've ever been in, but it took me 37 years to know myself, I think. And
do you feel like you learned who you were through making content?
Oh, absolutely. I think that when you create content, it forces you to look at yourself, which I think is so valuable. I don't think enough people do that. And I think that's honestly why a lot of people struggle with it, because they don't want to look at themselves, because then they got to face like, what are their opportunities? You know, what are their strengths? Some people struggle to even look at that.
That's true. Like it's crazy how many successful entrepreneurs we've coached or that like have come in and then a camera gets shown in their face and then they
like blows my mind. Like these people are so successful, right?
Yeah.
And have so much to give. And they don't do it.
Yeah.
Because of some deep-rooted
it's still hard.
insecurity.
It's still hard. Sometimes like we went on this Bandon Good Dunes golf trip, and Justin, our head producer, pulls me aside. He's like, hey, Javi, film a testimonial. And granted, it was like 6 a.m.
Oh, so you weren't like feeling it?
Yeah, no. After like the day before, we had walked 18 miles.
Oh, yeah. They didn't have golf carts,
Yeah, no
right?
golf carts. So we had walked 18 miles pushing our little cart, our little golf bag around in these little push carts.
So no caddies.
Yeah, well, the caddy he could only carry so many bags.
Oh,
and I was like,
okay.
all right, I'll carry my bags. Fine. I'm young. And then anyway, so like walked all that time. We ate, we had drank, and then we woke up at like 6 a.m. for the next day. And he's like, hey, Javi, film a testimonial. And I'm like, about what do you want me to talk about? Like,
Yeah.
And I know we're not going to use that testimonial. It was bad.
Because it was bad.
Yeah. Well, but like just the ability to be able to turn it on and then like just say something good is a great quality to have.
Yeah.
And it's something that, yeah, like you said, it's like the extra value and the intangible things that you learn through just talking and being on a camera
Yeah.
and learning how to communicate.
I mean, I think that that's huge. I think that communication in general is just an underrated skill that
Yeah.
we don't spend enough time focusing on. So that's something I'm trying to do with my daughters, just to make sure that they know how to like effectively communicate, how to have confrontation.
I think your daughters are going to be fine.
Well, that's
Well,
because
one of them is.
no, they're both really good. But
Yeah.
I have a question. I don't
Okay.
know where we're at on time, but
No,
I
you're
want to
good.
get into this.
Okay.
It made me think of it when you were talking about, having to turn it on and like just, I think what people would like to know about you and your role is like, what are like the days where everything's going wrong
Huh.
and like you feel like you want to give up, because anybody that is in business knows that if you're running all of these companies, like it's not going to just every day isn't going to be amazing. So can you tell us about like a day where you were like, I don't know if I can do this?
Today. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, there have been not a lot, but there's definitely more positive days than negative days.
Right.
But I think in those days, I think about like, hey, everything, like I asked for this. Like I wanted to be here. And then also the thought is, what is the alternative? Like I quit or like I decide not to keep doing the thing. And then it's like I have people who depend on me and people who like I have to help weather the storm. And also if I look like I'm having a rough day, then that's not good for the rest of the team. I think, I don't know, and you see it from the other side, but I feel like I show up pretty much the same every day.
Yeah, I would say you're very composed. Yes.
Yes. And then I think there are a few, I mean, there's some days where I show up tired or whatever, but like, in terms of like, I don't think you've ever seen me have like an outburst.
No, but I know that like any person, especially in a high level like position, there's I'm sure days where things
like there
are
are things
affecting you emotionally and you have to like just keep it together.
Yeah, and I think men do a better job of this. I can just like I'm able to like leave like and I compartmentalize. And what I was gonna say is like, but I realized I don't have any issues at home, so I was like, I'm able to leave that stuff at home, but I'm like, I don't have any of that. So that like shout out to Sam, but like, yeah, like I'm able to just like show up and do my job, and it's like that's it. Like if you don't do your job, then your situation won't improve. Period. Right. And obviously, like there are times where you're like, am I even doing the right thing? And that's where it gets a little scary. But that's also where it's important to have mentors. It's important to have people that you can go to. It's important to have a plan. And you're like, okay, like don't deviate from the plan. Like, we're gonna see this through for the rest of the quarter. And then if it doesn't make sense by the end of that, then whatever, we'll move on. And I guess long-winded answer, but to sum it up, on the days that I don't feel like things are going well, or like it's just there is no alternative to figuring it out, because you either figure it out, or the business dies, and the business isn't going to die. So,
well, how do you handle like I'll word it this way, because this is how I would feel if I was in your shoes. Like, let's say that a company isn't performing as well, right? Yeah. And then that's a reflection. I would take it as this is a reflection of me and my leadership.
Oh,
and
yeah. I think about that a lot.
I mean, naturally, that's going to affect your ego and your confidence in different moments, right? So, but then how do you go through that?
I think you can acknowledge the places where you went wrong.
Okay.
And it takes time to do this. Like, you don't think about it like on that day, but you're like, okay, like, how did I end up in this situation? And what are the decisions and things that I made in order for this to take place? And then a lot of sometimes there's like outside influence too. Like there's like maybe market conditions or all these other things. You're like, man, we did everything right and we still lost.
Yeah.
And that happens sometimes. And I think what helps too is like having some sort of sports background. Like I didn't play college or professionally, but like even high school sports, like sometimes like there's just a better team on the field. Like you did as much as you could, and it is what it is. And so being able to like just look back and be like, hey, separate yourself from the situation. And even if and ultimately because you're a leader, everything is your fault.
Right.
No matter what. So if you acknowledge that, there's freedom in that too. Mm-hmm. Because it is your fault, you can fix it next time.
Yeah.
And if you catch it quick enough, you're able to pivot and divert without it being like a huge like make or break thing because you have no cash in the bank.
Okay. It's interesting.
Yeah. So I hope that answered the question, but I think number one, understanding that everything is your fault for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And again, there's comfort in that. Building out some guardrails too and understand like, hey, these are my KPIs. And if I start, so we'll talk really quick about KPIs, and this is kind of how you avoid getting into that situation, right? If I understand what I want to be at for the quarter, what I want to be at for the month, what I need to be at weekly, and then what I need to be at daily to hit that, then if the daily metrics are off 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you're like, oh, crap, I got to course correct. So that way, by the end, you're not looking at the end of the quarter and you're like, where'd all my money go?
Right.
So if you can do those things to fix it. But when things are going wrong and you don't feel great, I mean, it's okay. You can go take a personal day if you need to. I don't, but yeah, you can, go. You'll get them tomorrow.
So how important, obviously, yeah, you need the KPIs, which I think, at times, yeah, if you're not like on top of those every day, it'll get away from you, right? But how important are the people to getting the job done?
You can't go anywhere without the people. And you will only grow, your business will only grow as big as the leader can make the business. And what I mean by that is if your leadership is at a 7, your business will always be a 7. And how well that you can communicate, how well you can inspire and lead, that's going to dictate the success of your business.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest challenge. So as a business owner, once you have people in the right place, and that's a whole other thing. And, I'll probably make a video about that at some point, but like, once you know that you have the right people in the right seat, the only thing that the leader needs to do is give them the KPIs to monitor and manage, and then kind of get out of the way and like hopefully let the talented people that they have go do it. But if you don't have the right people in this right seat, then now you're gonna be micromanaging forever.
So I just got back from the Vault conference.
Yeah.
And Patrick, what David was talking about, I thought this was really interesting, specifically the salespeople. So, in most sales positions, it's like, okay, you sell more, then you make more, right? Yeah. Not there. So you do have to sell more, but you also have to, I'm not going to explain this right, but like they have to sell across the board, right? So they can't just sell one thing. They measure them on all these different metrics. So if I get you as a client and I sell you on one product, right, then I'm going to make a commission.
Yep.
Now, if I sell you on multiple products over time, right, then this client goes into a new category and they are more valuable because they've been with you longer and they've spent more money over the course of the time. And however recent that spend was. So they call it, I think, it was like recency, frequency, and monetary, RFM or something like that. And so they have this whole thing set up right on the back end to do these calculations with all the data. But so the top salespeople, they are hitting all of those things. So they're not just selling one person and then they're done. They can make money that way, but they're not going to make as much if they get them in and they keep them. It's like, what's the time
LTV,
value?
Yeah, customer lifetime value.
Yeah, and then they are rewarded.
I love that. That's actually a good thing that we might implement.
I'll show you the thing.
Because we do track that, and our best clients have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars with us. They're at everything.
Yep.
And we love them for that.
Yeah.
And the whole saying, second money is easier than first money, because it's true.
I would agree. So they also mentioned too, when they when they pop up in the system, like this client, they turned red, right? Because they haven't spent money with us in X amount of days,
so we got to call them.
Yeah. And then it's not just like the salesperson, but it's on the fulfillment side as well. How do they all work together to create the best experience for each and every member?
Yeah. And that's actually a great lesson just for all businesses. Doesn't necessarily have to be coaching or education. Tech companies do this too. And some tech companies do it better than others, where they follow up with their existing clients. Like, I know for us personally, our contract software, they only follow up when it's time for renewal. And we have an annual license, and they're hitting us up 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
When in reality, like, if they would build a better relationship, like, they would be touching base with value throughout, and then. Not saying that I would buy anything else from them, but if they had something that was valuable, I probably would.
Right.
And I think that's what Patrick does probably pretty well.
Oh, I think
and that's
remarkable.
The other thing. Yeah. And you got to have a lot of stuff to sell people. There's always a different level. There's always another event. There's always something. And that's what we're trying to build too. It's just an ecosystem of things that, like, regardless of where you're at, we have something for you. And also a big thing that I've talked about on previous podcasts is just having things that are vertically integrated. And that's what we're really focused on. It's like, okay, so if you're an entrepreneur, you need the coaching. But then once you have the coaching, well, you're going to need the software.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to need this. You're going to need X, Y, Z. And we can sell that to you too, like, as you grow in your journey and you get better at being a business owner.
Yeah.
I think that's important. And I think that for you too, like, and I've talked to you about it, like, if you're a branding coach, I'd be looking for what softwares can I white label, or like, what things can I get an affiliate for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that, I think it's really interesting, and just incentivizing people in different ways that it's like the long-term success.
Yeah.
Right? Not just like that initial KPI.
Yeah. Who shouldn't build a personal brand?
I think everyone should build a personal brand.
Why?
Because at the very least, I tell people this, like, we're all going to die, like, we don't know how much time we have here. And that is a piece of you that's left behind.
I love that.
And, Jonathan is a great example. Like, and I'm so grateful that he created all of that content, before he passed, because now we can watch that.
Yeah.
And we can have a piece of him with us, in a sense of his message, his legacy. So, it opens up so many doors. Obviously, that's like the number one thing. But, like, even if it opens no doors and, you just leave, and that is what's left behind. What a gift to people.
No, I think that's amazing. And it's true. Like, all the stuff that you have is going to be there for
I mean, think
forever.
You're about to be a dad. Like, how cool if she can see it, because you do have content.
Yeah.
Your are we saying that your daughter yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can say, I guess, it's a daughter. It's a girl.
But, like, it's going to be so great. She can literally watch her dad, like,
talk about random business stuff. Yeah.
Well, and talk about hopefully his values and, core beliefs
of course.
soon. I would like you to start incorporating more of that.
What do you want me to incorporate? Like, what do you want me to say?
Well, here, let's start with this question. So let's say your daughter's 25, okay? Oof. And this is just hypothetical, but let's say you're not here. Let's say you tragically die. If there's one video that was left behind, what would you want it to be about for her to watch?
That I've created?
No, like what message would you want her to know?
Well, first so the video that Sam had, so she secretly recorded the announcement and then our proposal. I think if there was one video, it'd probably be that one. Because, like, that was, like, pure joy.
Right.
And,
that
love.
Video already exists.
Yeah,
yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you wanted me to create a video.
Yes. But I agree. That would be a great one.
Oh, that's such a hard question.
More like, okay, if I rephrase it this way, there's, like, so I lost my dad. And I have these things that he would say. I don't have any videos. But these little things that he would say to me, and they just like replay in my mind, like this advice, right?
Yeah.
So I think of it that way. Like, what would be like the one piece of advice that like you'd want her to just constantly be able to replay?
Honestly, to know God. Like, that's changed my life in the last year. And so, yeah, if there was anything for her, like if she starts straying away from that, to like come back to God.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think, for me, like with content creation and all of this personal branding, that is, I think, where it starts is you and your creator.
Yeah.
And then if you're connected to your creator, then you can create.
Ooh, that's good.
Like, I really believe that.
Yeah.
So
I have the same question for you. Like, if you can make one video that lives on forever, like, what would you want your kids to see? So
the number one message that I want them to remember is to stand out, to never try to fit in, that your voice matters, and the way you make people feel is way more important than what you say. And then my dad, one of the messages like that I would hear, or I do hear, he used to tell me, like, we're all born with this envelope. And he was kind of deep. I wonder where I get that from. But we're all born with this envelope. And, like, inside of it is what makes us unique and special. And we all have one. He's like, but most people don't open it.
Ooh.
And he's like, so you have to open your envelope and you have to share those gifts with the world. And, like, always think about that. And it's kind of funny because, like, now this is, like, what I do, which is very aligned with that. But he was so big on you embracing your uniqueness and not trying to be like anybody else. Like, I had red hair when I was little, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I was like, I just want to be blonde. I want to have blue eyes. Like, I hate this hair. And he would always talk to me about how, like, that's how, God wanted it to be that way. Like, it matches your eyes perfect and all this stuff. He just made you feel special. And I think so many people are just trying to, like, be like everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's when you get it wrong.
So how can somebody figure out what makes them unique?
Well, I think you make a good point. I think that you need to have a relationship with God. I really do believe that. I think that changes everything. I know that it did for me. I was always a believer, but I wasn't intentional with that relationship. And once I got intentional, that's honestly, like, it led me here. And I told you this. Remember when you called me for the interview? And I had pulled over on the side of the road.
Yeah,
and there was this car in front of me with this license plate. Something about, I can't remember exactly what it was, something Jesus or something. And I took a picture of it that day. I don't know why. I just felt like I need to take a picture. Like, I didn't know where this was going or if I was going to want to work here or not. But I think that was, like, a significant moment that was a sign that, like, this is the direction that you should go, because it didn't make sense. So I think when you develop that relationship, then you get these like downloads of what he wants you to do.
Yeah.
Or I guess he or she, whatever. I think it's he, but
Yeah, I think it's a he too.
you know, that's how you get connected to like to your source
Yeah.
and your imagination.
I agree. And I think that's those like times of like intentional thought and prayer where you're going to find whatever the vision is for your life. And then I would also see like, hey, like if you're struggling with that, I would also take like, is this from God or is this from somebody else? Like I would also figure out like, hey, like what does the Bible say about this? And if it contradicts whatever's in the Bible, then it's probably not from God.
Okay.
Or it's definitely not
So
from God.
yeah, just like go to the word.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like like, hey, like I have this feeling, I feel like I'm feeling called to go do something. What does the word say about it? And then if it contradicts, then it's probably not from God.
Yeah, no, I think that's good advice too.
Yeah, that's my thought on it. Yeah.
So, okay, I know we could go all day, but
Yeah, that's. I mean,
what would you say are your unique gifts?
Oof. I think I'm decent at connecting with people quickly.
See, why do you say decent?
Because I'm modest. And I like to under-promote and over-deliver. So...
Surprise, I'm better at connecting than you thought.
Yeah, well, it's like, I would rather somebody say, oh, Javi's great at this, than me say it. You know what I mean? So if I say, hey, like, I think I'm decent at this. Like, I think I'm pretty good at it. So yeah, keeps my ego in check, which needs to happen. So I think I'm good at that, which has in turn made me good at sales. I think I'm just good at communication.
Okay.
One of the things that I think has helped me with my career is being able to effectively communicate myself, and figure out what somebody needs and if I can fulfill that need. So I think that's helped out a lot. And I think I'm pretty emotionally intelligent to like other people, like how like they're coming across. Somebody said at our mastermind, like, Javi, you're really observant. I'm like, I think, yeah. And so I think I'm like able to like be tuned into what other things are going on. So I think those are some of my like just soft skills, I guess. What do you think yours are?
Connecting with people.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree.
And I mean, yeah, that's number one is just like connecting, communication.
Yeah.
And I'm good at helping people believe in themselves. And that is, I guess that's what I would say. And I'm nurturing, but like nurturing with like a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, we can talk about that too. Like a lot of these guys, they go to therapy sessions with you.
Well, this is a big problem though, because like men don't feel you've been taught to not express emotion.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tough sometimes for a man to express emotion because like who are you gonna express it to? You can't really express it to your guy friends,
right?
Sometimes you can't express it to your wife, depending on, like, I'm not saying me, but like, a lot of people can't. I'm thankful that I can. And then even sometimes like they express it to their wife, and their wife wants them to be vulnerable, and then their wife will use it against them sometimes. And again, I'm saying somebody else.
No, I know. I think that is a hot topic, what you just said, because there's a lot of talk on the internet right now about like vulnerability with men and how you should be vulnerable, but like not too vulnerable, because then your woman then there's like an imbalance between the masculine and the feminine energy, and then she's going to be less attracted to you.
Exactly. So what do you think about that? Do you think that's true?
I think there is a little bit of truth to that. But I think that makes it complicated, because I do think that in any relationship, you have to have this safe space for everyone to express themselves. I think the way that I interpret that is like, and I think this is true for the woman as well. If you're just constantly complaining, then that is not attractive.
I agree.
So that's how I interpret it. It's like, express how you're feeling, but also take ownership of all the results in your life. And so If
For
you're
sure.
expressing, this issue or whatever here and there, then that's totally welcome. But like if you just have tons of issues and you're constantly complaining, you probably need to look in the mirror and take some ownership. That's like my interpretation.
Well, I agree 100%. And one thing that I do too, if I do complain, like I like to like have some sort of plan. Like I'm like, like this sucks, but this is how I'm gonna fix it.
That's a typical man response. Yeah. To like, okay, this is the plan of attack.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, every now and then I like I'll vent, but I don't think Sam would categorize me as a complainer.
Yeah.
That and then like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, my wife doesn't respect my decisions or like whatever,
yeah.
and I'm like, well, because you probably made some bad decisions. Like
Yeah.
I don't think any wife, for the most part, or significant other, goes into a relationship not respecting the person that they're with.
Right.
But I think over time, if you just have a bad track record, then it's tough to keep that confidence high.
I think that you're probably good at what's the word? Like allowing her to feel emotionally safe. I think a lot of men struggle with that. How do you do that?
Elaborate on what you mean by emotionally safe.
Well, okay. So for women in a relationship, in order for you to be like fully engaged and for it to be thriving on your end, you have to feel safe with your partner. So like you're protected, you're provided for, like they've got your back completely. And then you're also someone she can go to vent, right?
Yeah.
And you're not going to like try to fix everything, but you're going to be there.
I struggle with that.
Really? Oh, I assumed you were really good at that.
Well, like the last part, right? And like I have to hold my tongue sometimes where like she's just venting to me.
Yes.
And then I'm like, I want to be like, well, just don't do this. Or just
right, because you're just going into fix mode.
Yeah, some dumb man response. And like, so I personally, I'm like, yeah, like that sucks. Or like, I'll just listen and I'll like be like, yep, like I'm just trying to feel it with her, which I think is like super important. But also, I think it comes back to having a partner that will communicate that too, where it's like, hey, you do this, and I actually want you to react this way,
right?
And I want you to just feel it with me. Like, stop trying to solve my problem. And I'm like, okay, babe.
Yeah, no, I think that is
like,
a good point. Because people they assume that like you're gonna act a certain way, and then they don't tell you. Like, okay, I was talking about this the other day. Why is it that we have these job descriptions and resumes, and like it's very detailed, right? When you're hiring someone. But we don't do that when we're like dating someone.
Well, yeah, I think people date with like intention. And so then they like, I'm not saying that like I did this, but people like are like, okay, like, and I think I do it subconsciously, or like once you actually start dating longer term, then you start thinking about it. Okay, like, hey, like what's this person's worldview? Like what's their stance on kids, or like how do they like handle stress and pressure, and stuff like that. And then you start gauging those things. But no, like we don't just go to the first date. Here's my
like,
card.
I feel like we should, or even just like, how do you want to vent to each other? Like, I know that sounds so stupid, but like when you think about it, it honestly is stupid to me that we do this for hiring people to work with, but not a life partner.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for like life partners is just like, how are they going to handle adversity? And does that line up with how you're going to handle when things don't go well? Because I think that's the most important thing, period. Because anybody can be like great through good times. I think there's a rule, right? It's like 3 months, 9 months, and then I think 7 years, I think are the times when the most breakups happen.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think you just learn more about the person typically in that time range, right? So like you can be anybody for 3 months.
Sure.
And then 9 months is really when somebody kind of like settles in, supposedly. And then like 7 years, I guess, is like when like, I don't know, I forget what it is, but like there's another cutoff at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like I think it's also because I think there's like certain adversities and certain challenges that like after 7 years, some problem, like there's probably been a few big life changing events. And so eventually like you get to see a good picture of that person.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are entering one too now. Like when you have a child,
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's like totally changes.
Yeah. And like,
I mean,
and
it's amazing, but then there's also
it does change the dynamic a little bit. And yeah, so like it's a new learning period. And but yeah, having a partner that you want to do that with and like you trust is important.
Well, of course. Yeah. No, I think I don't know. I'm so fascinated by people and relationships. Like I always have been, but yeah, even more now.
Yeah.
I just think we're very interesting.
Yeah. So what qualities in your current partner like made you decide that you wanted to date him?
So since I kept getting this wrong, I did
Yeah, you're experienced.
I did write out an outline of
Okay,
what I was looking for.
Let's talk about that. How many things on the list does he have? Well, first question. How many things did you have on the list? Like
I didn't number them, but
roughly
it could be 50.
Okay. So you had 50. And
40 to 50, I guess.
And how many do you think he had?
Without looking at the list, I think he had about 95% of the things.
All right. Well, there's your lesson,
was
people.
Really interesting to me. I mean, that surprised me too. Like I was hopeful, right?
Yeah.
But like, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's great. So, because you see these, you see like these alpha male podcasts and stuff where they're like grilling women. They're like, you're in your late 30s. You have a list of 50 things that you want. Like statistically, you're looking for like 1% of the population. You know, you want to make 6 figures, be 6 feet and whatever, right?
Yeah, the 666 whatever thing.
I'll let everyone think about the third one. And so, like, what do you say to women who have that and like have that list?
Yeah.
And should they settle or should they wait?
So it's funny. I had that conversation actually with my uncle at Thanksgiving. You sounded just like him just now. So anyway, yeah, I can't wait to introduce him to my boyfriend.
Yeah.
To say,
love that.
well, I guess you were wrong.
Yeah. Suck it.
I would say that if you do not get clear on exactly what you want, and I'm not talking about, 6 feet, whatever. Like, in fact, I don't know that I had height on my list.
There we go, short kings.
But I've also never dated anyone that's like shorter than 5'10", so it wasn't on my list. But
it just kind of.
I just put that out there. Not that I'm against that, but anyway, so I think that you have to be clear and you have to really know what you're looking for as far as like what do they value, but like also what is their growth plan? So where do they see themselves in 10 years? Because where you're at today, I mean, a lot can change in 10 years.
Yeah.
And you might say, oh, I want what you want. But it's like, well, do you really want that? Like, you really need to figure out where are these people trying to go?
Yeah.
What do they see their weekends looking like? How do they, I mean, I had just all kinds of silly things on there, like details. So if you don't have that.
Like, really quick, those seem like important, like just how they want to live life, though, which I think is important. So would you say, were they more like lifestyle things or were they more so like superficial qualities?
They were not materialistic, superficial qualities.
Yeah. So
mine
like,
were not.
Can you remember like the top 3 to 5?
Yeah. So
if you want, you can pull them out too.
Yeah, I have my phone right here.
Yeah. That's
okay.
Let's
So
see
I
'em.
know for sure I had like personal development, but not just like it was more specific, like enjoys reading personal development books, going to conferences,
Yeah.
right? Like getting that specific. Okay, let me look here.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll
So
tell you.
I think those are good.
And the reason you have to do this is why. Because if you meet someone, and because you will have a connection with many people in
sure.
your life, right? So if you meet someone and you have a spark, right? Then if you don't have this stuff written down and you're not super clear, then you will overlook a lot of things and you'll start to justify certain behaviors and qualities about a person that really isn't aligned with you long term.
Yeah.
Because, oh, you're just like feeling good. Like that's dangerous.
For sure. Well, that, and it's just like, it messes with, like you said, it's just, what are my ideal lifestyle? No, is my ideal lifestyle going to match what their ideal lifestyle is?
Yeah.
Or just what like my default lifestyle is going to match theirs, right? So I think it's important.
It's like, okay, let's see. Maybe it's more than 50.
You know,
All right, I'll just give you like some of the
give me
top
give
things.
me the top ones.
So, ready to commit is like number one.
That's fair.
Sounds obvious, but you know.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a little superficial.
Okay.
Everyone's gonna laugh at me. Strong hands.
I mean, people like hands. That's fair.
Listen, I have a thing with hands. I don't know. Like you can't have like girly looking hands.
That's fair. Okay, so strong hands.
Yeah,
that's
strong
important.
hands. Respects me and my daughters.
Yeah, I think that's a non-negotiable. That's fair.
So let's see. Makes them a priority. Isn't jealous and understands the importance of maintaining a healthy relationship with their father.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Wait. With
me understands me maintaining a healthy relationship with
their father. Yeah.
Yes.
Why is
co-parenting needs to be? Does that make sense?
I see. I thought you meant. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So like, if you're someone that is
Yeah.
super jealous or insecure, right?
That's not going to work.
That doesn't work for me. We have deep, meaningful conversations. Okay. Looks at me with admiration, and I look at him the same way. I think that I know these sound kind of obvious, but look, it helped me. Let me get to some that aren't as obvious.
Yeah. Give me like your
more
most.
details.
I want to know your most superficial one.
Oh, my most amazing teeth and smile. That's probably number one. Superficial.
Yeah,
I don't have
good.
many superficial things on here.
That's good.
Let's see. Makes an impact. Has a podcast. Gives back.
Yeah, so he has all of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to find another one. Oh, we have an intense chemistry.
You didn't need to read that one.
Why? I'm trying to think of another one that's like about the weekend or how you're enjoys creating content.
There you go.
Because if you don't, then you're gonna be so annoyed with me.
Yeah. Well, so I think all the things that you listed were like. It's not like they were a crazy list or like anything.
No,
that's
we only went through a few of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I'm just saying like that they weren't like outlandish requests.
No.
Yeah. So,
faith was on there too, like believer. But I think it's just, I think I didn't have someone that was into social media before.
Yeah.
So that was like irritating.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, why are you doing that?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's things like that, or conferences. Like if you're with someone that isn't into that stuff, but you're like really into it, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that mindset before.
Yeah. I mean, it can be for sure. I think also there's a difference with when the woman is more into the personal development and the growth than the man.
Right, because the man's supposed to be leading.
Yeah. So I think if you're a husband or just a boyfriend and you're into it, but your significant other isn't as into like development in conferences, I think it's not as bad.
I would agree with you.
Yeah. But I think like the second...
You mean if it's the man that's more into it?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because like you're still in your masculine and you're fine. But yeah, if I can see how there would be an imbalance on your side. Because if you're trying to grow, and
it doesn't work.
Is. Yeah, because I mean, like, I believe personally that, like, if the man is growing, inevitably that's just going to rub off on his wife. In my opinion.
I think,
as long as you pick the right partner and there's no ego involved and
because I'm like,
stuff.
I think that that would be true, but then now I'm thinking of stories from guys that I work with that.
Well, I also think
like,
that there's like that he didn't want to put the effort in, and I think that's a cop out sometimes, where like the husband out of nowhere starts working on himself, but doesn't try to like include his wife, and other stuff too. Then yeah, like I think there is some situations, and again, you know, maybe I'm naive. I don't think I am, but where there are some situations where the wife truly just doesn't want anything to do with him getting better. I think in reality, the husband got better and didn't want to include his wife and didn't want to lead her and help her out and help her.
Why would you think? Why do you think a husband would do that?
I think some people get selfish and they start improving their life and they think that, well, there's studies on this, where a husband improves his life and increases his dateability or his value in the dating world.
Okay.
And he may start getting attention that he wasn't getting previously. And now all of a sudden he thinks he's worth more, or he likes the attention and it's new, and then he decides that he doesn't want to be with his partner anymore.
I actually saw a clip on Instagram. I don't know if you saw this one. I didn't know who the guy was, but he's like, if you're in this like top 1%, right, of men that earn, you know, at the top 1% and this and that, then you can cheat on your wife. That's what he said. I was like, wow, that's a hook.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, and men like that shouldn't get married anyway.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I think I don't know. I think that's crazy.
I mean, it is, but like there's a lot of, okay, let's say you build your brand and you are.
So this is, so there's somebody who likes to talk a lot of stuff about us.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, let's.
And number one, you like to build your brand on tearing other people's stuff down, or trying to at least. 1, 2, you like punching up. And 3, if I look at the other types of content that's on that page, that's what you're gonna, I don't know if you have kids or not or whatever, but like what you're gonna be known for is for talking shit and then having not the best guests on. So this person has like porn stars and talks about strip clubs and talks about a lot of stuff. And so if that's what you want to get your views on, by all means, I hopefully, when the content that I'm putting out is helping people and, you know, doing things that are valuable and a +1 for society, not a -1 for society.
Well, yeah, I think it goes back to what you were saying in the beginning, and that's like it's value over virality. Like, and in alignment with who you are as a person. Like, clearly we know his strategy. He's trying to get views because he's saying, you know, polarizing like crazy things.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Go get
people.
Views and be known for.
Yeah, that's not, to me, that's not like really sustainable, because you're tearing everyone down along the way. Like at some point, that's got to come to an end. Yeah,
well, that, and I mean, and even if it doesn't, and again, it's just, what do you want to build your brand on? Do you want to build your brand on talking to, again, with just about dumb stuff, or do you want to actually add value to the world?
And I would like to just address this because I thought this was interesting. So one of the clips, he's talking about how he attended a wealth con, okay? And how it was just, you know, not valuable, whatever. But he says he left at lunch. Okay, so what person how can you effectively
Yeah.
judge, right, a conference if you didn't attend the whole thing? I mean, that's not even a fair assessment.
And I mean, again, whatever he felt about,
I'm just saying, like, think about
it is
that,
what it is.
though.
That's okay, and that's fine. It is. Yeah.
To me, you're gonna tell. It's like I went to this thing, I didn't complete it, like, and it's awful.
Yeah.
But how do you even know what the rest of it's like?
Yeah, and I mean, again, we could go on and on, but the guy used to come to our office. He used to come upstairs and ask for business.
Like, it just makes no sense to me.
But anyway, I don't want to give it any more airtime. But my only point is that that's going to be your legacy.
Right.
So whatever you want your legacy to be.
But that's the cool thing about having a personal brand is you get to decide what that story is going to be.
Yeah.
And, you can control that. I mean, you can't control what other people say about you. Like, so I guess that's another element. You will have haters.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. You will always have people, like, if you put out content, you will have things that people don't agree with.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, I put out a LinkedIn video about remote work and, like, basically the whole gist of the video, and I truly believe this, and like, because I've worked for both remote companies and I've worked for in-person companies, I've hired both. You're going to get more out of an in-person employee.
Yeah.
Remote work is amazing for the employees. I used to go to a yoga class at like 12 o'clock in the day, middle of the day. I would sometimes end early, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I know some employees do that too, and it's fine. But anyway, so I put out this video, and somebody had and basically I was saying, hey, like, as an employer, you should like really prioritize in-person culture. And somebody responded like, you're never going to attract top talent that way. And a few people liked it. And I was like, you're right, like, at some capacity, but funny enough, but I'll finish that point and then I'll get to another. Funny enough, Amazon just went all back to in person.
Yeah.
So like one of the biggest companies on earth is like, we value in person. So there's that. But back to the other thing, you're always gonna have people who disagree with your take, especially if your take is a hot take. And that's okay. And people are gonna hate on you.
Yeah.
Jesus couldn't do miracles in his hometown because like people didn't believe in him. I'm not comparing myself to Jesus. but just
even though he has the same initials, he once told me.
My mom said that. Shout out, Mom.
Sorry, I had to throw that one in there.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's because like if people just like, there's always going to be haters.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on that.
No, it's true. I mean, you can't let that hold you back. So, and then I want to say this last thing that I heard too.
I was going to have one more question, but then
I know. I don't even know how long this thing's been going.
Yeah, we've been rambling.
So I heard this girl talking about niching down, right? Because everyone's like, you got a niche. And so then what I find is people struggle with their personal brand when they're so focused on niche, because then they're like, well, I can't talk about this or that, or like, and then it doesn't feel as personal. So I thought the way that this woman described it was great. She said, your personal brand is like, think of it like this. You're going to a party, right? And let's say you're hosting a Taylor Swift themed party. Okay.
Love that.
So all these people, right, come to the party and because of Taylor Swift, right?
Yep.
And that's why they're there. But then you could have another party, right, that has nothing to do with Taylor Swift, but they come because they love how you and Sam make them feel. And they, you're believers, and you also value vacations, and you're about to be parents, and you like to golf, right? So there's all these things about you that people would come to your party and talk about all those things too. So you could have like a main thing that you're known for, but it's okay to like share those other parts of you, because that makes actually, I would argue, for a better party. You know, if you're just all aligned with your core beliefs, your values, your interests, but then you could be known for one overall topic.
For sure. Well, that's how you differentiate yourself, because there's a ton of people who talk about business. There's a ton of people who talk about personal brand. There's a ton of people who talk about almost every topic.
Yeah.
So people are going to be attracted to me for certain reasons, and people are going to be repelled from me for certain reasons, and they might go to you for certain reasons, and they might not want to work with you for certain reasons, but you wouldn't even want those people who didn't want to work with you in the beginning to begin with.
Exactly.
Right? So like, I think that talking about your niche, but you have to have different things about you, and people will resonate with you because of those other things. And so they might come because you're an expert, but they'll stay because they like you. Right.
So like you, for instance, I think a lot of people may not know that you're a big Swiftie.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if they look at the Instagram, they saw that I've been twice.
But you've been 4 times, right?
No.
Oh, I thought you went 4 times.
Oh, that would be a lot of money. Just the 2 times was enough for me.
Okay.
No, but so I when she dropped her first 2 albums, like I did listen.
What's your favorite song?
Right now, that's a good question. The first one that always comes on the car is "Cruel Summer."
Okay.
Love that
I
beat.
like that one too.
Sam and I Love Lover.
Okay.
And shoot, there was another song that I just heard that I was like, dang, that's pretty darn good. I don't know, but we'll stick with those 2 for now. And then I'll have to figure out.
Too.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Swiftie, but I do like those.
Yeah. Still the best performance I've ever been to. And I've been to a lot of like festivals and raves and
she has
concerts.
a very strong personal brand.
It's one of the strongest, that's for sure.
Yeah, you could say maybe the strongest.
Kate, if you had to leave the earth tomorrow, what's one thing you want people to know?
I would want people to know that they are truly capable of anything. And if you just go outside of yourself to help more people, that will give you all the answers to like living a happy, fulfilled life.
I love that. So. All right. Well, if you're still here, thank you. And peace.
If you're still here.